Welcome and a wonderful good morning to the Green Stage, where we are going to present you with some news about the business travel industry. So the business travel track today here on the stage, and the first speaker is Eoghan Marshall, country manager for the DACH region, that's the German-speaking countries, and he's from Uber, and he is going to present to you the first session.
All right. Can you hear me? Oh yeah, perfect. All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming by and for spending a couple of minutes with me and to give you a little bit of an insight on how business mobility is transforming. And I think 2025 is going to be an exciting year. It is already, and I would like to take you on a journey together with us, not only to look at the priorities that business buyers have, but also on how we as Uber, and in particular how Uber for Business is looking into these priorities and what we eventually bring you as a solution to it. But first and foremost, let me introduce myself to you. So my name is Eoghan Marshall. I'm a country manager for Uber for Business in the DACH region. I would also like to thank ITB and VDR for having the opportunity to speaking today, and again to bring you a little bit of our view of the business mobility world to you. Some of the things and insights that I'm sharing with you are based on actual data. So we looked at GBTA data. There is a recent poll that you may or may not know, which came out in February. So some interesting insights, and I'm aligning them along to our view of the business travel world. You may or may not agree to them. That's totally fine, and I'm open for discussions after our conversation or after the presentation today. Let's quickly dive into who am I. So again, to give you a little bit of an insight. So my first ITB was in 2007 already. So yeah, it's been a while. Maybe a quick question in the round. Who remembers the partnership country in 2007? If you have been here before? No one? All right, it was India. So exciting times. I remember myself being in ITB the first time. I'm a trained travel agent, and I was very young at that time. And I remember that ITB always gave me a lot of sparks, and it was truly amazing. I'm a safari guide as well, just a little bit of a fun fact. So I love one hall, and that's Africa. I always go there, usually at the end of the ITB when I have a little bit of time and to sneak around and to see old friends. So I was a safari guide. I lived in Africa and did a semi-professional guiding experience there as well. Last but not least, my Uber rating is 4.9. You would think now, okay, what is the Uber rating? So if you have been using Uber before, you have a rating. So you will find it in your personal profile. I would like to invite you to check it. 4.9 is actually not too bad. Some of my team members and managers may have a little bit of a better rating, worse rating. 4.9 out of 5 is actually not too bad. That brings me to my next question. So who of you have been using Uber before? Maybe just a show of hands, so I have a little bit of an understanding. All right, perfect. Good. So I don't start at the very beginning. Still, again, I would like to take you on a journey. I'm going to give you a little bit of an insight of what services we provide. And again, if you have experienced our services already, this is great. And eventually you will relate to some of the topics that I'm making. Very briefly about Uber, who we are. So we are a technology platform. So this is by definition what we say we are. We provide different services of many different kinds to our end consumers and of course also to business customers. We are live or available in 15,000 cities worldwide. We are available in more than 70 countries and 6 continents. That makes us truly like a global service that you can basically experience everywhere in the world. We operate more or less like 33 million trips and deliveries daily, which gives you a little bit of the scale that we're operating in, and also, of course, the responsibilities that lies with them. We have more than 124 million active users on our platform, so you are one of them, and thank you for being a trusted customer. We also have more than 30 million subscription members, which basically means that we have a subscription model, which is called Uber One, and already today 30 million users experience this partnership with us. Why I'm showing you this? It's because our technology goes, well, it goes beyond just providing a service. And I brought you one of the quotes that I do like a lot. This is coming from Dara. Dara is our CEO. You may have seen this gentleman before. And basically what we're saying is with the scale of operation that we are doing today, there comes a lot of responsibility. And we want to build back better to countries, to cities, and everyone who is interacting with our platform. And this is primarily based on sustainability, but also on the quality of service that we want to provide to our end consumers. Again, one of you are them. So when we look at sustainability, just to give you, again, I want to guide you to the topic of how mobility is changing and what in the backbone we're doing. Currently today, we are the largest zero-emission vehicle ride-sharing platform that you can get. We started with 24,000 ZEVs. ZEV, just very quickly, is zero-emission vehicles, meaning truly vehicles that are operating without any gas or diesel or whatever. So it's basically really just purely electric or also on Wasserstoff. I don't know the English word. Today, 128,000 cars are operating on our platform that are zero-emission vehicles, and we continue to grow this number. Our plan is to become net zero in 2035, so in the biggest cities first and then across the globe. Good thing is, and this is why we're speaking today, and again, I give you a little bit of an insight on how we translate these kind of benefits into the business world. Basically, everything that you know about Uber, that you have experienced about Uber, the quality and also the availability of our service, we bring directly to businesses. What does that mean? So today, already 170,000 companies worldwide work together with us on many different use cases. So it might be purely the employee travel, where companies decide to partner with Uber in order to get their people more effectively from A to B. And or we're also doing the whole meal program. For example, if you want to feed your people, not only in the office, but also during trips. But we also do everything around that. So when you look at customer acquisition, but also well-being and benefit, so our services can be easily implemented in your company's journey. Now let's look at 2025 and what do we see from a business travel perspective. Again, always leaned a little bit towards the Uber world and how we react, or let's say provide you eventually like an answer to that. There's one thing I need to say, and I operate now, again, more than 20 years in the tourism environment. And of course, COVID hit very hard, and it was basically a world where everything was set to zero, including tourism and travel and everything around that. When we look at 2023 and 2024, it was truly consolidation. So we knew that travel is some sort of like coming back. Nobody really knew if it is still fine to go on a trip or not. Some companies may have also not allowed people to actually travel. 2025 for us and for me personally is really like a world where we are back to normal. So we see that business travel is being back. GBTA reports the same. So they say like 2025 is truly a year where travel budgets are increasing, bans are being lifted, and people are actually on the road again. And this is quite exciting. But with that, there comes a lot of challenges. And I think the world has changed. And how this world has changed, I will give you a little bit of an overview. When we look at the GBTA poll in February, there are 5 priorities for travel buyers in 2025. And these are no news, but eventually they have shifted from their priorities. And maybe there also are coming new trends. And I will give you a little bit of an overview about them. First and foremost, the biggest priority in 2025 is really how to control costs, reduce them. And this always in the idea of how to enforce compliance. Because we see, like, when you are on a trip, compliance is a very key cornerstone about that. And especially when we look at ground transportation, compliance might be very hard to enforce. And here we have some answers for you. Secondly, the safety and security of the people, of the employees, but also about the companies, that has ever been job zero, or let's say the highest priority of every travel buyer I speak with. This is, I think, became even stronger after the COVID era, and after being in a phase where nobody really knows from a security and safety perspective what is good or what not. So I think there's a lot of emphasis around this topic. There's sustainability. I think this is always on top of our minds. I would say, however, sustainability always goes in the hand with providing a great experience to your end users. You don't want to enforce things where end users eventually don't truly interact with or agree with. So I think these two things, the sustainability and the experience, goes hand in hand. And lastly, what I'm going to dive deeper into a little bit is how companies use services which are truly creating a global ecosystem. Sorry. What do we mean by that? So there are trends emerging. People are not only on a business trip, but they are also going on a pleasure trip, or they have combined travels. And here also, from an Uber perspective, we may offer you some good experiences. Let's dive deep into each and every topic, and I try to be brief and I try to make it more engaging. First and foremost, I think I would always like to lead with data, and because data gives us a good view of things and what is truly, let's say, important. And it's not only coming from me, but this is let's say, some sort of a public opinion. Again, the data that I'm using is from GBTA, so there's a business travel industry poll. I encourage you to read it. It's quite interesting if you may have not read it already. It's coming from February, and there were different things that they highlighted. And one of the quotes that I'm taking here is that 78% of the travel buyers identify that managing travel expenses is key priority. That's why it's also the first topic I would like to dive deeper into that. And by managing travel expenses, meaning that we enforce compliance, that we look at things, how travel is being organized, and how this can actually help to reduce cost, or at least to control it. And with Uber, when we look at that, there are certain things that we take care of for you for an environment where you eventually today have not yet found a good way to manage that, and that's ground transportation. I mean, we are, at the end, a ground transportation provider. Of course, we provide different services, but if you look at ground transportation, and in the conversations that I have with companies, ground transportation is always a little bit of a gray area. We know that everyone is using ground transportation because the flight stops at the airport. You need to come from the airport to the hotel or to the office. And there is a lot of friction. And when we look at what we're trying to offer you is basically a hub, a platform where you can not only manage everything, but you can also enforce compliance with creating programs. You can also set up billing methods, etc. pp. So really to truly manage an environment that is eventually not being managed yet. Again, you can build custom programs, so there's a lot of flexibility coming with it. And we can also provide a freedom of choice when it comes to ground transportation. So there's not only A and B, but there's maybe A, B, C, D, E, F, G, because on our platform, we truly think about a multi-model system that you can already access today. How does that look in practice? And just to give you a quick overview, so what we're seeing here is the Uber for Business dashboard, which gives you this hub, this platform, this flexibility on the top side, where you would be able to manage programs, where you can manage your people, you can manage the billing methods, etc. pp. And on the bottom side, this is actually our user experience from an employee point of view, where you have the Uber app, which is front and center, and basically you have the option as an employee to switch between two profiles, between the business profile and your personal profile, where when we are on the business side, everything kicks in that we've set up in the back end through the dashboard. So very easy to manage, and everything is web-based, so it's free of charge. We set you up with a program. You can navigate through the program easily on your own as well in order to enforce compliance. What do we mean by that? So eventually, there is a time where your employees would not be able to access ground transportation or Uber, and specific. You can set up rules, times, You can even set up things like, I don't want my people to use certain Uber categories, but I would like them to use, for example, Uber Green. So these kind of things we can create on the platform, and again, helps you to reduce your cost and truly to manage also your travel program more effectively in a view of the ground transportation. And when we're speaking freedom of choice, just to give you a little bit of a view of what categories we have available, we are not only taxi, we are not only UberX, we are actually quite more. And again, this is paying into the aspect of having, let's say, a good economical choice and provide this to your end consumers. For example, with UberX on the top right corner, which is our most, let's say, efficient Uber. You may have experienced that have experiences about that already. And or if we look at Uber Black, which is a little bit more an elevated service, where we eventually have use cases where an elevated service is needed and a different type of category is needed. We even go down to the very aspect of providing rickshaws, which is very cost effective, and not everyone likes that. But we also provide public transport and micromobility, which truly makes us a multi-model mobility platform, where again everyone can make the choice, and you as a company can guide individuals towards the right product, towards the right choice. When we look at the second aspect, and again, when we speak about protecting people, it's always, I would say there are always two aspects to that, and I would say security has multiple facets, and I think we can speak about security and how we interact with security and making sure that people are being safe and being taken care of, I think a whole day. What I would like to tap into is how you use a service that is hard, also from a safety perspective, ground transportation. If you hail a taxi on the side of the street, who gives you the guarantee that drivers are being verified, that you're being taken from point A to B? I'm not saying that it's always the point, but there's a lot of safety and security aspects to that, especially if you cannot control that. And when we look at the poll again, and security and safety again is front and center for everyone, and especially also the well-being of people when they're moving around. And here, when we look at what we can provide you with, is truly a global program. And you can access our service everywhere in the world. Again, just a small disclaimer again, 15,000 cities, 70 countries, 6 continents, same standard, same service. You basically get the same Uber everywhere in the world, and that provides you more security and safety. Not only can we integrate with existing systems, international SOS, you may have heard about them, but we do support the people that moving with Uber directly as well. So we have in business support, which is 24/7 available. We have an in-app assistance where you basically can report also emergencies and or report any support case that you would like to have. And our support grid is quite global, and it's quite impressive. We have 35,000 support agents globally. They speak more than 28 languages. So no matter where you are, no matter where your people are, we have them covered. So when there's an issue, we have a strong support grid that people can access to quite easily. And we even go beyond. Our app is developed now for over decades, and 124 million people interact with this app on a daily basis. And with that, we learn a lot, and we improve the safety with the interaction of Uber, and that goes directly through the app. I'll give you some examples. We hide, for example, the destination address. So the drivers don't see the destination address. So when they drive you there, they get a rough estimate about the address, and when they're getting closer, they know where to drop you off, but they don't know the actual address. So for example, if I put in Macedam 7, they would not know it. We also build in security features within the app on the driver side, so motion detection control, speeding control, etc. pp. So we control these drivers directly as well. And again, here just a quick view on the ISOS integration. So if you have using international SOS at your company, we would be able to integrate into that, meaning that your team have direct access to location data of your employees, We don't provide this on the Uber for Business dashboard. That needs to be said very clearly because it's often an GDPR compliant topic that we need to discuss. But if you are integrated into an international SOS, we would be able in any, let's say, urgency to provide you location data of your people. And you can also then push information if they are in a certain area which eventually has a security concern. Thirdly, and I'm combining these two aspects, sustainability and exclusive experience. And why I'm doing that? Because I've seen that sustainability has been hyper-focused over the past couple of years. And I mean, it's a topic that is obviously ominous to everyone, to us. And it's true, because it's very important. But we do not, well, we cannot set aside the experience of people that interacting with the environment that we are creating. And here, it's very important to have these two things combined to make good choice and to provide a good service. And the one quote that I aligned to that is actually, how do you measure that? So especially in the ground transportation environment, measuring your sustainability impact is quite hard. Of course, if you're using public transportation, that you can measure, at least to some extent. But if you're looking at truly four wheels, it's hard to measure that. And you have maybe models in order to calculate that. But I give you a little bit of a view what we are doing. And then, of course, the return on investment. And the return on investment, I categorize here as the true experience of the employee. Because sometimes when we create travel programs and when we speak to companies, this aspect of, what is the actual return of that is maybe a little bit set aside. And here, we also would like to emphasize more on the employee experience, which is a great return because we know when there's a great program, when there is a great service, people love it and they use it. And that's the actual return that we're looking to. And what do we do with that at the Uber world? And to be very brief about that, first of all, we create visibility. So we create visibility in an environment, again, which is eventually hard to track. We have a dashboard where you basically can see all the trips, everything that is happening at the fingertip, post-trip. So it's not live. It's basically whenever a trip is being finalized, you see the information. We also track CO2 emission. So we do know what car is driving where and when. And we know exactly how much CO2 this car is emitting, which we provide you with on a sustainability platform. And we check in on these data with our business partners on a quarterly base, on a monthly base, depending on what the importance is of these kind of data. Again, for us, it's like, how can we create a program that is truly returning on your investment, and how we can create visibility in an environment which is eventually not yet truly visible. And how does that look like? Again, I'm always coming back to the dashboard. So the dashboard provides you with very specific data around your ground transportation. So not only when things are happening. On the right-hand side, we see business hours when Uber trips are happening. And this gives a lot of control, and again, also insights on when and how and where your people are using Uber, and also how happy they are with that. Remember, I shared you my Uber rating, which is 4.9. We expect the same from every traveler who's taking an Uber, also from employees, to rate their drivers. So whenever you take an Uber trip, you may have seen that, there is a rating request at the end where we would like you to rate your driver. And this we can also extract in information and data, and we can share also in a quarterly business review or monthly business review, where we basically see, okay, how happy are you people with the ground transportation that you provide? So we provide you a true data point on the return on the investment that you're doing on this particular program, and we see driver ratings quite directly. And then, and just to combine it with, oops. Oh, no, it's not moving. Oh, no, it's moving. And then we combine it with sustainability. I know, again, sustainability is front and center, so we all know that. It's super, super important. I would question how ground transportation is being measured at the moment, knowing, and I'm quite aware that companies that we work with, ground transportation is a tiny, tiny bit of the overall CO2 consumption of the company. Especially when we're looking at manufacturing, we do know that ground transportation is not, let's say, the needle-moving aspect. Still, it is important to look at. And I think also things start with small things. And here what we do is we provide you with a very comprehensive dashboard where you have the ability to look into your CO2 emission for every Uber that your employee is taking. This data can be extracted. We have logic behind it, how we calculate it. Again, this is true data. This is not based on a model. We know which cars are driving where and when. So this is actually true data. We can make you this available also on a raw data model in order to feed your systems and to feed your evaluations and things that you do on a sustainability aspect. Last but not least, and this point, I do like a lot, and I think it became more and more, especially after COVID. I know it always happened and it always was there. The trends that we see of a global ecosystem in terms of mobility. Here, trends are emerging like bleisure, you heard of them, blended travel, linked business trips, etc. So more or less like people are not only moving around for business purposes, but also for private reasons. And I think it's legit. When I look at myself, whenever I travel to one of our offices globally, I always try to combine that with a cultural visit, with a city tour whatsoever, because I think I'm traveling there anyways. Why would I not also enjoy the amenities of the very destination I'm in? And with that, we mean, when we look at Uber, again, we are a global brand, and you can use our services no matter whether you are on a private or on a business trip, and this you can truly do on a fingertip. We have a very easy way to combine both. So first and foremost, expensing for employees is super, super important, especially when we also look at the cost aspect. This could be easily a point that would go also in the first category. But more or less, it means that expensing is always a pain. And I can only see myself when I'm traveling, I need to collect all these receipts, I need to expense them, it's truly painful. At Uber, the receipt is being digitized, so people can easily expense their trips. And again, they can always switch between business and travel, so it's very easy for them. It's one global app, so I told you before, it's truly in a service that we provide globally. It's fairly easy to access, and it's the same standard everywhere. And last but not least, of course, the improved employee experience. You introduce basically a service that is being known already. You all showed your hands on who has been using Uber before, and this same goes for your employees. So your employees have been using Uber probably before, and they would quite be happy to have that also, this opportunity to use it also on a business reason. Quickly skipping the slides, this one again just emphasizes on where we are available. Just on a smaller note, the green area is the area where we partner with the predominant provider, which would be Didi in the most of the regions. We are shareholder of Didi, and here again we just complete our ecosystem. User experience, everything happens on the app, and I think one thing that is also combined to my initial slides, so you switch between the two profiles, so you select the ride that you're taking, whether it would be the most effective one, or let's say Berlin, which is the black version. You select the expense code. We can also, again, all add it to the trip, and we also can provide policy, which you see on the very far right, where the program has been set up that Uber can be used only in certain areas. Again, this is helping all the employee to make a right decision and for you to enforce your programs. When we look at the possibility of expensing, we have enterprise-ready integrations. So everything is made very, very easy to your employees, meaning that they can choose the ride, but in the end you will choose it, but we have the integration into the expense system. What does it mean? We push the e-receipt automatically to the expense system of your company. We add additional data to it, so it's very easy for the employee to expense an actual Uber ride. Good. With that being said, that brings me to the very end. This is my lovely team. You can find us at the booth 201 if you would agree or disagree to some of the points that I've shared with you today. I'm very open to have a discussion about like how Uber and how we think about like mobility and changes and the priorities of travel buyers in 2025. So we are here full day today and tomorrow. Last but not least, and this is very last slide, you feel free to connect on LinkedIn. Again, I'm super happy to have the conversation with you and to eventually discuss your next Uber ride together with you. Thank you very much and have a great day further.